Prom season is just around the corner, and to get the perfect formal look, you'll want to have a fabulous hairstyle. So we came to New Vintage in Northeast Portland to ask them what are the top hairstyles of 2015.
Texture is still really huge this year. And by texture, I mean people are doing a lot of curling, crimping. It's not just straight 60s hair anymore. So right now I'm starting, Margaret coined it the Lana Del Rey. Part of curling hair is you have to, when you curl it, the heat sort of forms the curl. And then see how I'm not touching the curls? That sort of sets it. So then it will stay a little bit longer, because when you go to a prom or you go to a formal, you really want it to last all night. Using a boar brush will definitely soften it. It won't make it look so uniform. One of the things that you really have to do is a lot of back combing. You simply just comb down and then release. And then on that little part that you back comb, you comb down again and release. And what that does is it creates like a little pillow, but it also on the top is a very smooth look. The best way to make sure that that bobby pin stays is to create an X. And that's not gonna go anywhere all night then. And then just continue to make X's. So we wanna make sure that it's always gonna cover. The hair that you have left out is gonna cover what you've done. You definitely wanna leave some of it down so that it still is sort of flirty and it doesn't look too overdone. And then you wanna take like a sort of a wide tooth comb to blend everything. Because again, you want it all to be pretty seamless. But this is sort of the finished look of what a Lana Del Rey, something that you could easily do at home, and you just see how loose the curls got? If you want to really Lana Del Rey it, you just simply take the end of a comb and you just sort of lift at the root, and it doesn't alter the rest of your style. It literally just enhances it. Game of Thrones is really popular right now, and so we're doing sort of a Game of Thrones. It could be considered very casual. It sort of has a lot of elements to it. It's a lot of back combing, it's a lot of texture, and it's a lot of braids. Braids are really, really in season right now. In order to achieve the side braid, one of the things that you really have to do is a lot of back combing. So again, we're just going down and out. You want to prep that braid, all that hair, so that you can braid it and do sort of a looser braid. You don't want to do anything that's sort of like, you know, too put together. It's Game of Thrones, we want to do a little bit messier. So you'll see it looks like this in the front where it's all messy. So you simply want to just take a wide tooth comb or a boar brush, and you just want to smooth it up. Instead of going, normally when you braid hair, you go down. We're going to go under. And you want to do it very loosely. It's a very loose braid. The other part of it is, it kind of looks like a French braid, right? But you're only taking the very front piece. So see how like underneath the braid it looks a little bit padded? It just creates sort of like all this volume and movement that wasn't necessarily there before. And it adds like just like a little hint of romance. Not too much though, it's prom. We don't want to go too far. Like to be sort of like a braid crown, and all that stuff is all previously back combed from our Lana Del Rey. We're going to go in, and remember how I said to anchor things you want to definitely do an X. So we're just going to X these underneath, and then you want to separate this. Now the other thing that you can do is then to do a loose braid. So one thing that I've done is I started from, so I do my crown braid, I start it from the top and then I do a braid all the way down. And I like to do side braids because they're a little bit cuter, right? And then if you want to do a wide tooth comb and just sort of loosely back comb things, normally if you're braiding hair, you go under, right, or over. We're going to go under this time. It creates just a little bit more of an edgy look. So now we want to add in that top layer. And how we do that is we just drop it and just continue on with the braid. And then you want to go through and sort of just make it a little bit messier still. That's one that I do a lot for brides. And because a lot of brides will take from prom because it's current, and 17-year-olds really sort of create trends, right? So a lot of brides steal from all of that. The third one we're doing is sort of a creation that I've done for probably a decade, and it creates a lot of texture and movement and sort of makes it look like you didn't get your hair done, but you definitely spent a lot of time on it. A really easy way to get texture is to do a braid on the top of your head, and then I would split this in two in the back. And this is a really easy, especially if you're on the runway, sort of to switch a look in the middle of it. This is an easy trick to get a lot of texture in a short amount of time. And you press for about 5 seconds a time. And you're gonna go over it twice. Obviously, you're being careful not to touch the rubber band. And then the final one we're gonna do is a combination. First, do a pretty sweet crimp, which you can't deny is texture. And then what you want to do is take those sections and braid them. Then the last one, what we want to do is we'll flat iron over that. This out, you'll notice this was when we just did a conventional braid and then we just flat ironed over it. So what that gives you is that sort of like beachy, sort of like just got out of the ocean sort of look. If you were a girl who really wanted a lot of texture, but you also wanted to do your hair for prom, obviously I would do it uniformly, but we'll just keep it like this for our purposes. So one of the things that you can do to also create texture is have ponytails. And a lot of people start out their ponytails, they'll put the band right here. But something that is super popular to do right now is to put the band right here. It gives you sort of like more of a mohawk style. And see how like loose and casual, when you put it towards the middle, it sort of makes it puffy right here and here. And it sort of covers all those bobby pins and sort of makes it cute and unique. Then you just want to take separate little pieces. You don't want to maybe crimp the whole, you just want to just grab random pieces. And that really creates sort of like more of a punk rock kind of style for that girl who's going to the prom, but still wants to maintain her coolness.
If you don't feel confident after watching those tutorials, you can always book an appointment at New Vintage. They are open every day from 10 to 7. Reporting in Northeast Portland, I'm Jessica Greif for the Oregonian and OregonLive.